I really feel like Top Boy, they really opened the world up to like London culture, Black British culture. And it'd be so nice to have a project that opens up to Asian British culture in the same way as a cultural moment with that level of impact.
Written by an Asian person too.
Yeah. And do you know what the funny thing about Top Boy, why everyone's got love, but no one really knows this, but actually one of the main characters, I want to say which one, was actually meant to be Chinese Vietnamese.
Okay.
Not many people know about that.
One of the leads.
I'm not going to say yeah, but that's one of the leads was supposed to be Chinese Vietnamese.
Male or female?
Mel. So back in the day, so that would have changed that whole show's dynamic. I went in to read for it, one of the characters back in the day, but they changed a different direction, which happens, which the creative control, it goes into a different direction, which is why let's talk about the politics and how that narrates. But not many people know about that because now you go, oh, if they change the lead, that changes
everything.
Yeah,
Be instrumental.
yeah, but do you have enough people to be able to help consult and talk about that?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's her. Yeah.
At the time, it was like 2010, 2011, 2012 time. The answer's probably no.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to another wonderful episode of Eastern Honeys. We are absolutely delighted to have in the room with us Mr. Jason Wong.
Jason Wong is a British Asian actor and martial artist based in London / West London. Best known for his roles in film and TV, including Dungeons and Dragons, Honor Amongst Thieves, and Guy Ritchie's The Covenant, and The Gentleman. Jason uses his platform to challenge discrimination and stereotypes and champion East Asian representation. He once said, "If you cut me, Penang laksa bleeds out. If you gut me, chicken rice gushes out of me." With a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, expertise in Wing Chun, and a habit for performing his own stunts, Jason brings his martial arts dedication and a commitment to subverting male stereotypes to the big screen. Today, Jason joins us to discuss his work, life, collaborating with Hollywood legends, his love for action, his journey from London's West End and to Hollywood as a proud British Asian. I'm Jason Wong. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. And I'm so glad to be here today. It's really emotional watching you two do that, actually. So it's really nice seeing you guys doing what you're doing right now and progressing East Asian culture and talking about all things British East Asian. It's nice. It's been a long time. So it's really amazing to see you two do such great work.
We really appreciate that. In your own words, can you introduce yourself?
My name's Jason Wong. Born and raised in West London. That's important. I don't know why it is with London is that you have to sort of regionalize where you're from. And we grew up in
same
area.
Lavin Grove, Westbourne Grove. Yeah.
So W10 is where I grew up and, very diverse London environment. Yeah, acting's always been there for me. Before acting, I was thinking about being a soldier.
Wow.
Life happens, family incidents happen, and then my dad passed when I was 16, so that changed the dynamics of what my priorities were, and I was the eldest, so I had to switch that up. So yeah, and then I went to my drama teacher and said, "What do I do? What about drama school?" And I went, "Whoa, okay, all right." So check that out, because before that I was gonna either try to apply for Sandhurst or military-based schools, which is weird because you don't normally go into that sort of field. Nothing in my family was military. And so that was interesting. So I went to drama school and auditioned for a couple of drama schools, and then they offered me a few places. I did not do well in my A-levels. Let's just put that straight. So I think it was a lot to do with like gift of the gab and auditions and stuff like that. So here I'm sitting with you lot now. So when you're talking to me about that like me as a 16-year-old watching or hearing about me doing these movies, impossible. I was just like, from the area I grew up in, that is not a reality. So it's weird hearing that, and sometimes I got to check myself because life happens so quickly and you don't really get some time to reflect on
process.
Yeah, process and how you got there, and you're just like, oh crap, I'm in this room all of a sudden. I'm sitting at this table all of a sudden going, oh, I'm talking about acting career.
Speaking of acting, actually, we met on the set of a short film, Sweet Bittersweet, and I was your wardrobe stylist.
Yeah, and you did a great job. She made us look very slick and she got the tone of the film.
Thank you. When you started to land these like big Hollywood roles, was it difficult? Not difficult, but like, what was that like?
Yeah, I mean, you do question whether you belong at the table.
Yeah. Always.
Yeah, and I think luckily I've had some great mentors who's like, no, you belong. and you belong at that table. You've been through the journey you've been through, if not more. You've been through the same process. You belong at that table. So when you're doing that cast read, you look around, you're like, oh, look at these big names. Who are these people you're there on set with? Guy Ritchie, McConaughey. It's actually, no, you've earned your stripes. You've earned the right to be there. And so make sure you deliver, but make sure you deliver that. Make sure you do your work. So give people a reason not to like you, and they will. So you have to make sure you put in even more work. And for me, hard work is easy work on set. So put in the work, do your homework, love your craft, be true to your craft, and then everything is easier for you. You're always going to face challenges in the creative world, but it's how you manage that. I think I always sit back and listen, observe, be patient. I'm practicing to be more patient. I think it's really important, and to know that you belong.
Oh my God, wow, I love. Yeah, I'm going to take that with me.
It's like when you were on set doing our costume, you was like, you belong there. You were doing great. And I was like, she gets it. Like the nuance of the colors that you're working with. And I was like, okay, you get the character. I was like, normally when I'm working with costume designers, I'm just like, nah, that. I'll do it myself. I was like, do you know what? No, you know what you're doing. So I just let you choose. And because sometimes that can be a hard process, because that's your first level of armor, is the visual appearance of the character. So it's so important to be able to capture that. But I was like, as soon as I sat there and you were like, no, try this. I was like, she's got this.
Oh, thank you.
Leave her, let you do your job, and you're great with that creative process. And again, you belong there. And Nicolee, she belongs there. Like, we shot on film. No one shoots on film. Every 5 minutes we're changing that, and she put her own money towards that, and hopefully it brings a whole different nuance to it. And it was inspiring we're doing nights, and I sat at the top, and I was like passing out because it was like 2 a.m. I was watching, I was like, everyone's doing this for love.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
And hopefully you guys get to watch.
So everybody watch Sweet Bittersweet, starring Jason Wong, directed by Nicolee.
Yeah, and Carmen Law, who's the lead actress in it. She's incredible. She's upcoming from musical theatre, but going into the crossover world of film and TV, and she's incredible. She reminds me of a young Faye Wong. So if you watch Chongqing Express, and there's elements of Maggie Chung in her delivery, she's very still. She didn't need to do much. I was like, oh no.
She was incredible. I've got to say, I was watching her on set and I was just like, you're amazing.
You were talking about how Asian Americans are a bit different. And we wanted to get your thoughts on British actors of colour playing roles for American actors of colour. For example, Daniel Kaluuya in Get Out. Samuel Jackson was like, Black British actors don't understand what it is to be Black in America. And Daniel Kaluuya's response was, being Black is a universal experience, even if I don't have the lived experience of being in the US. So yeah, what are your feelings on that? Like, if you're asked to play a character from Hong Kong or from the US or somewhere that's not you, obviously that's like acting. What are the like social, cultural implications of that? And how do you feel about it?
Those two names you mentioned have their own views on that, have feelings. I would empathize a bit more with Daniel because I've done a lot of characters who are like from Hong Kong, or I've played a lot of Asian Americans. Sorry. For me, we are exposed to a lot of American culture in the UK. So can I empathize? Can I understand a bit more about Asian American and the Asian American experience? Probably a bit more than the Asian American to understand about British East Asian culture, because it's very specific. So that I've grown up watching American TV and American culture, but can I relate to the Asian American who grew up in Pasadena in California, that grew up in a very small community in the Bay Area? Probably not, but I can find some relatability. Like, because, that East Asian experience is still the same East Asian experience when I go to the States. And the same racial stereotypes are still exposed and prevalent to me here in the UK, and I'm exposed to that. So I can find some form of relatability. So I can find an emotional journey to explain and tell that journey as well. When it comes to East Asia, I grew up, half my summer holidays were in Hong Kong and I lived there. It's enough for me to understand. Can I fully understand the full exposure? Of course I can't, but they can't either. But I can be able to try and tell that story. And we haven't got many stories to tell within the East Asian community. So it's as long as you're doing your homework and trying to understand and try and convey and portray the character on screen and trying to get the person's journey clear to the audience, I think the audience hopefully will be a bit more forgiving to that. Can an East Asian American understand when I go Trocadero, Thai Square, growing up with certain people in that environment? Probably not. They probably watch Top Boy or something like that, but it's a completely different journey from what an East Asian kid might grow up in West London or New Cross. Like, it's a very different exposure, and sort of the cultural isms about that. But I can relate a bit more to them because we were exposed more to the American culture.
Yeah. It is true that like North, South, East, West London are all completely different cultures.
Yeah.
And they all require different approach, different understanding.
And even the accent's slightly different. You know, than
I would agree.
Reach as well. Like, I can hear someone from Croydon, I can hear someone from West. And if you, all you got to do is listen to certain grime artists. You listen to Stormzy, very much a Croydon, it's very South accent. And you look at AJ Tracy, Big Zoo, and you listen to Fredo, they're all from West London, and it's a very strong West London as soon as they speak. And then you've got Kane, who's from East. You can hear that. There's a very, Kano, sorry, and you got a very East London accent there. And Dave, he's proper like Streatham boy, isn't he? So he's like, you can hear that South London influence there because different people were raised in these different areas. You've got different influences there.
As a rising like Hollywood star, how different was it doing castings and auditions when you first started off compared to where you are now? What was the audition process like, and the roles? What were you gravitating towards, and like, has that changed?
When I first started out, it was like little small parts here. It was like little waiters, gangster number one, and
No names.
Yeah, no names. Literally, I think I'm credited on one of the films, the first films I did, as Chinese guy.
Oh, wow, okay.
You can look at those on IMDb.
Times have changed.
I tried to get that changed, and the casting directors were trying to help me get it changed, but just, I don't know, producers just didn't change it. And they said they would change the name to a character's name, but then I'm still down listed as the Chinese guy, and you'll be able to say what the film was, because that gave me my first break, essentially. But
We'll find it on IMDb later.
of the Chinese guy, there's up there somewhere. But yeah, so you would get these small little itty bitty parts, and it was never for a series lead or a series regular or anything like that. It was just like little appearances. And now, with obviously certain people, a lot of other actors who are doing great things now, and they've helped progress us a lot more moving forward. So now we are being seen for leads, and we are being pushed to different directions. And other actors have also helped me out, like Amelia Fox for Silent Witness really wanted to push me to get lead title for Silent Witness. And I think that was the first time a British East Asian actor, for all the seasons that they've done at the BBC, she really championed me to go, and it also gave me that confidence to help me get that lead title, even though I was in it for a shorter stint than anticipated. But she pushed for that. And that a lot of other people who weren't maybe from that background, for East Asian background, also helped put me in certain positions as well. And that was same with Strangers or White Dragon internationally, you know, getting that series regular title, just that small little thing, having your name appear in the opening credits, that's a fight in itself.
It takes allies.
It does. And there's a lot of allies out there that have helped me, other East Asian actors, to get to that position. And there's a lot of hurdles you got to jump before you even get to that position. So yeah, so that, yes, it has changed, and it's changed for the better, but it's gone a little bit of a lull at the moment. So now we're just trying to fight back.
People trying to reverse DEI everywhere you turn. And
you know, there was a big champion for it, but then it just sort of went the other way, and now everyone's going back to the beginning again. I was like, whoa, we've made progression here. Now try and get us to step back now. I don't ever step back. We only go forward. And so that's what we're trying to champion and push now, to make sure that we are seeing for lead titles. And that is a discussion with my team that I have. I go, look, I don't want to just do little guest spots anymore. Like, I'm done with that. Either they give me a proper story arc where I can really narrate and story tell that character forward, or I'm just not going to do it.
Authenticity as well, which is so important.
Visibility is very important. A lot of people don't get that. A lot of people roll their eyes now when you talk about it, but it is still important. Let's just not forget what the objective is. It's to be able to tell stories. And I think it's always about, how can we serve the story? How can we serve the character? How do we serve the project? But you sometimes have to say no. And sometimes that hurts. Sometimes that means you're not working for a year or 2 years. And then you come out later on.
visibility is such a huge driver, because that's why we did Eastern Honeys, because we grew up British Filipino, and there is no nuance or spectrum of representation whatsoever. In UK mainstream media, it's either we're beauty queens or nurses, we are domestic workers, or, you know, like in some kind of peril. There's so many of us. There's such a massive community. There's so many stories. There's so many narratives and people doing incredible things, and also everyday people just living their life. And to condense us all into that monolith of Chinese guy, like Filipino nurse, is so reductive. Yeah, it's just really nice to see. Like, we were having a chat before this about how the East Asian community in the acting scene has evolved. And that's just like really refreshing, because we've all had our own struggles and journeys to elevate. And now we're in a place where we can.
Yeah.
And do you think that's a generational change within the Filipino and the Chinese or Vietnamese community that we see?
Yeah.
Because I'm assuming a lot of our families came here as migrants come and work.
Exactly.
And now, you know, we had us, and we're like, no, we're educated now.
Yeah.
Different level. We have a different creative thinking. Our thinking is very different. So
it's survival now.
Yeah.
And even just shout out to our crew who are mostly in their like early 20s. Even for them, there's such a huge shift from us in our 30s where they have like, it's culturally, it's cool to be in the know about other countries. It's cool to rep where you're from. You have Netflix and TikTok and all the things. We have so much like exposure to other cultures, whereas we didn't have that. So it's just nice to see, I guess, the internet. Shout out to.
And on the film that we worked on, the producer, she shared like an Instagram post afterwards. She was just like, it's the first film that I worked on when all the head of department was Asian.
Yeah.
Just that statement as well was just so like affirming. Our parents and families moved here, I think, not struggle, and to really just thrive. And I think those instances are such nice reminders of their hard work paying off. Going back to like your love for acting, like what was the spark?
I was quite shy as a kid. My mum might think a bit different, but like I did a play called The Pied Piper when I was 9 years old. I played the Lord Mayor. It was a very big, eccentric sort of character. No one should really like him. And he was kind of like the bad guy of the play. And I did that. And that's when I sort of caught the bug, and I realized, actually, I like this. And then it was the first thing I did at school where people were actually going, oh, you did really well, without me having to try. And I was like, okay. And so I enjoyed that as well. And then it sort of got me out of my shell. So I guess from the age of 9, and then GCSE, I had a very supportive drama teacher, Mr. Pratt. And then in GCSE, it was Mark Patterson, who, luckily enough, he was one of the big 4 founders of the NYMT, which was it's quite big establishment. They founded Jude Law, Johnny Lee Miller, Idris Elba, Gugu. Like it was a big institution where a lot of now established actors went through, and we had him, and he was such a champion for us. The professional theatre in our secondary school as well, that actual productions would hire to showcase. So I was always exposed to small venue theatre, and we used that, and we would charge people to come in £3, £4, £5, £6 public members. And there's a bar there. So it's a fully functioning theatre. So it was really nice to be exposed to that. It's the only reason why I say that school. It's gone now. That school was rough. It was a tough environment. That sort of environment negated what you did in life. And luckily I had a cool crew around me. But yes, that's where I got it. And then he sort of encouraged me. And then I went to drama school, which was very different, because when I went to drama school, it was a very different demographic. All of a sudden you had everyone from the UK, everyone from around the world. You had, the acting course had 40 something places, and you had 3,000 people applying each year. And then the drama applied theatre education, I think it was like 55 places, but then you had north of 1,500, 2,000 people applying for this very specific role. You had to go there for auditions, interviews. You had to have an average of ABB, which I didn't.
ABB.
You can't take away my degree now. I got a conditional offer on that. And and I just needed to get a certain amount of marks, and I still got in. And it was a great space for me to be creative and hone in my craft and be able to write and direct, act, and do all those great things. And I was encouraged at Central. I went to Royal Central School of Speech and Drama. And that space really allowed me to be creative and encouragement. I've never had so much encouragement from an institutional educational system before, ever.
So cool, yeah.
That space. Like, I found out that I had dyslexia whilst I was there, and I was like, that's why I'm very bad at doing essays and grammar, and I get my words mixed up. So that was really nice to be able to be supported in that environment. And they gave me 100%. I think because there was a lot of wealthy patrons. So they were just like, you're ethnic. You come from a single parent family. You have dyslexia. Okay, here we go.
Tick, tick.
I was like, thank you. But, still I had to work a lot harder because on the weekends, whilst everyone was enjoying life, I had to go and still do a part-time job and look after my family. So, I didn't have the full amount of creative freedom, but it was an intense course. It was 5 days a week. You were there from 8:30 to 5:30 plus, and you had to do lots of essays, a lot of vocational stuff. A lot of it was mentally exhausting because your text, movement, voice, it wasn't like normal uni places where people can just, have reading weeks. It was a lot of work. And if you didn't put that work in, you wouldn't do well.
It's funny that you were willing to go into something as disciplined as the military, but acting is equally as rigorous and regimented, because this is what sets the foundation for a career to tackle a career like yours.
Military was, I think I only experienced a little bit of it, but it's very regimental. And I think film sets are very regimental. You are told, as soon as you walk on, you're told where to stand, what to wear, how to wear it, and then walk the set. Like someone's following you to the toilet because they'll trust you to go from the toilet back to the set. And then you're being like, this is what you eat, this is what time you eat, and then this is like, and then you do this, and then you're getting prodded and told where to do and where to stand and what to say and how to react. And so you have to be really disciplined in that. And you can't go out and get smashed and
and non-egotistical, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, there's always going to be that. There's always, when you have hierarchy on a set, you're always it's always a breeding space for egos. And especially when you got creative people. But that's just part of the art. That's part of the creativity. I think John Chu said this, and I don't know who I heard this from. Maybe it was Henry Golding. And he said politics, I didn't hear this from him, I heard this from someone else, but politics is a part of the creativity.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And you just have to learn how to negate that. I'm sorry if I'm misquoting you, but that's what but I'll take that because that was great advice. And I remember that. I think Henry Golding told me that. He goes, politics is part of the creative process.
What does that mean exactly? Because I really love what I do. I'm a multidisciplinary creative. So it spans fashion, podcasting, direction, and styling. When I was in my early 20s, I'm not going to lie, quite egotistical. I just loved the space so much. I think I took myself really seriously because I was just I am an artist and I want to make this work. And now I'm in my 30s. I've found such great separation from my sense of being and my creativity. I can come on set and I can enjoy it, and I'm not overthinking it or just, whatever. So what does that statement mean?
I think from what you're saying is that you've developed more experience, so you don't have to worry about it because you've overcome some of those objectives or those objections or those challenges or those concerns. So that sends me experience. And when I mean that statement with politics is part of the creativity, especially in the film world, you've got producers, you've got studio exec, you've got writers, you've got other producers chiming in, you've got now investors chiming in on how you should be acting or how you should be creating the words, or they don't like the color of the set, whatever it might be. But that's just, you just got to manage that. And that's part of the politics that comes, the bureaucracy that comes with people, because it's show business. People forget that, yes, it's show, but there's a business side. You are a commodity. As much as us creatives love to think about the art and the creativeness.
Capitalism, baby.
But yeah, it's there to make money. You're there to make a business. You're there to create a product. I want to make it look pretty and shiny and I want you to consume it. There's a lot of money involved here. And so there's also risk. So therefore everyone gets their ideas chimed in. So a good producer manages all those cooks in that kitchen and keeps the director free from it. Sometimes the director is the producer and writer at the same time. That's when it becomes a bit of a boiling point. But you've got to manage this. And I did Han Solo, and I got to experience one of my favorite directors, and I got to do that with Ron Howard. And when I was watching Ron, he's incredible. He's Oscar-winning director. He's done incredible pictures. But when I was watching him direct this franchise, he was not bigger than the franchise. On most sets, he's your man, right? He's the main dog, but not on the Star Wars set.
Right, Star Wars is the main, yeah.
I think he even said, I'm not going to misquote, but I even remember him saying along the lines of, "Hey, I'm just serving the project."
Oh, that's so interesting.
He was like, "No, I'm I'm serving the story.
Interesting.
So he was not bigger than the project. On most of his films, he is the guy. He's, no one. Yeah. But this, nope, he was producers, studio heads were giving him feedback and he was taking it. And he managed the politics brilliantly. And I didn't have many lines, but his direction is so clear and so precise. I was like, that's the director I'm like, I want to be. And he was incredible. I just sat on set. Even he was like, you can go back to your easy up the little resting area. I was like, no. I want to sit on the set and see how he works, how he has a conversation with an actor, how he gets a performance. He's so patient and his direction is so clear. And I was like, that's very interesting the way he does that. For me, that is someone who managed the politics of this institution.
So what are some things that civilians like us who are not in that industry just aren't aware of? Especially because you do stunts as well, martial arts. Like, what are the sacrifices or like the other things that no one ever sees?
One of the key things when you said that people don't really understand or really negate is public relations, your PR, your publicists behind, and how much they have a huge part of you and marketing you as the brand, or me as Jason, or you as Ethan Honeys. Like, what is it that they push and sell? And I'm starting to learn that. A few actors have caught that on way earlier than I did. I was just always reluctant because I was cheap, because I don't want to spend it. Because it's a lot of money. Like, it's a lot of money. Like, you get them on your
It's a retainer.
Yeah, it is. And it's a lot. And then again, if you're not negating those jobs, can you justify X to get Y? But again, if no one knows you or no one knows your brand, why would they consume? I'm an artist at heart, but I'm trying to understand the business side. And I think there's a balance between actors, creatives, and business. It's almost like this, chalk and cheese. There's design, I let my agent, I let my manager deal with that. But actually, if you look at a lot of these savvy actors and creators, directors, they understand the business side too. Yeah. And if you start talking, if you don't find that balance between creative, business, now some actors out there will be like, no, you stay true to the craft. I'm like, okay, fine. But there's also, for those who don't have certain privileges or certain areas where they are automatically put up for leads because they might look a certain way, all right, we might have to work a bit harder over here on the right side with PR. So that's one area that a lot of people don't realize how much time and effort you have to do in that realm of PR and marketing to expose you. And getting that right is hard, because what sells in films and business, we all know what sells. It's sex sells, isn't it? Sex, violence, guns and drugs. Like, that's what sells. That's what sells a film, really, isn't it? Like, half the films out there that you see is that's what.
Any film on Netflix, it's like, God.
But like Game of Thrones, that's so like, it's like boobs and blood. I mean, love it.
But there's a consumer market. It's like, why do you see so many Fast and Furious sort of episodes? Because people love action, they love cars, they love guns, they love a cool storyline. They just want to find a nice, fun popcorn movie. Now, if you look at Blue Bayou that Justin Chun did, how many people watch that film? Talk about East Asian lead with I think she was American, I think Alicia Vikander, and talking about East Asian, like there was the immigration, it was about that, and him being deported back to Korea because he didn't have his paperwork because he was adopted. No one knows about that story because guns, violence, sex, rock and roll sells. So PR is such a huge part, and I'm trying to understand and learn that and start being a part of the game. And if you're not part of the game, then fine, then you better have something else you need to be doing. So PR is a huge part. And that's something I've learnt. And doing martial arts is just my own Asian ego. Watching Jackie Chan and Bruce Lee, I was like, nah, I can't not be doing this. I've been training. But there's it's a different dance, because especially in the stunt world, when you're doing gags, it's what they call it with fight scenes. You're taught to throw a flawed punch on camera. In real martial arts, you're taught to make contact, to hide and deceive the punch. All right. But in film and TV, no, like a normal punch, if I'm going to hit you, I'm going to go straight, right? Or I'm going to go straight to deceive it. You can't, that doesn't look good on camera. I have to come in from a wide angle, show my face, show the camera that I'm coming through the punch, and then make contact.
You have to go slower with like frame rates and stuff.
Yeah, so you don't go as fast as it. You have to put loft and energy, but you don't need to be any faster than that, because otherwise the camera can't catch it, because you can't sell the punch. So, and it's
Speed around here.
Yeah, and so when you do martial arts, like, you really have to it can mess up your actual martial arts.
I guess because it's martial arts and then it's performative version, which, yeah. And plus you're minding people's safety, no?
Yeah, absolutely. You are like, you don't want to like, when I was doing Dungeons and Dragons fights, like I was like, I want to have to like, doing with real swords, like swords that can still like hurt you. Like I nailed Breguet in the hand. He nailed me. Like I think I felt blood trickling down my leg. It was a plastic knife and you just went bam, but what 1 second and I could just feel this nice little thing coming down my leg. And it was a
Health and safety.
and then he nailed me in my hand. Like I had welts everywhere. Like we like were stabbing each other with these plastic swords, which still hurt at pace because you're going fast. But yeah.
A lot of our male guests come on and they have such a love for martial arts and action. And do you think, are they like archetypes of like male masculinity, Asian male masculinity?
Yeah, I think Bruce touches a lot because that's the first hero we see on our screen. Like he is the first, and his philosophy behind it and his martial arts and his discipline behind it as well. So for me, that's 100% why I went to Hong Kong. After drama school, I left for Hong Kong for a year, but I went there to go and learn Wing Chun. I wanted to go follow and I want to go down the same streets that Bruce went, and I managed to train with someone who used to be his training partner, because everyone used to think Bruce trained with Ip Man. It's not true. He trained with a guy called Wan Shan Leong, who was my master's master. And so there's this whole thing I went down. I was in the academy like 5 hours after teaching. I'd go straight. I was in there hanging sandbags and I wanted to learn from someone there. And then I managed to get onto the show Warrior for season 3, which a lot of my mates were on, and Andrew Koji leads that. We can't mention a podcast without Bruce, but Shannon had, for all the cast members that were on that show, she gave a ticket stub that was cut by Bruce.
Wow.
And she gave us these poems and written letters to the cast members, and she goes, this is a little token from me, and thank you very much for doing the show. I read the letter and I was in tears. I was on the phone to my mom, she was like, what's wrong with this? I read this letter from Bruce Lee, and the struggles that he was going through then are the same struggles we're going through now as East Asian actors, not being seen by studios, not feeling like we're visible, and talking about like, no, I can do this. I have the gumption, I have the energy to be able to be on screen, and just give me a chance. And he's writing to the head of studios at Warner Brothers, and I was reading that letter and looking at his sketches and his artwork, and I had me in tears. And I straight away called. I was messaging Andrew and the other cast members, was like, "Did you guys get really emotional?" Because, dude, you have no idea. Like, it was so amazing that Shannon did that for a lot of us, and that just made me go, okay. Being a part of that show was actually nice because I got to work with my friends, and then we're like, this is a show that he conceived. Yeah. So that was a nice moment with Bruce. And I think going back to the main question there is he the epiphany of male masculinity for East Asians? Absolutely. I don't think just for East Asians though.
Yeah, I would agree.
For anyone who felt like they were the smaller guy, who felt like the underdogs, exactly. He resonated, because I know a lot of people that weren't East Asian that still resonate with him, but done with class and elegance and that
gentry. Wow.
And the philosophy, it wasn't just like, I'm going to punch you for a second. It was for a principle, it was for a reason. There's a deeper philosophy to his delivery on screen.
You shared that you lost your father at 16, and then coming up in the Nth, which had its own forms of hypermasculinity, and then coming into martial arts and the film industry, which also require, and I'm sure it's challenging to like navigate certain stereotypes, especially of Asian men as well. So as someone who is British Asian and who's experienced London and Hong Kong and navigating those politics of the industry, what is your perception towards masculinity and like your personal relationship to it?
I guess I was very lucky because my father was present, but not at the same time, because he was a chef, so he was just out working. So I only saw him in the mornings, took him to school, and then he disappeared and he was working in restaurants. So I had a lot of my mum raising us as well. She did a great job of raising two little shits. Oh, sorry. Two difficult kids growing up in West London. But I guess my mum, since we were kids, she was always fearful that we would get bullied because we're East Asian or Chinese. So she sent us to martial art lessons from a very early age. I think from the age of 5, 6 years old. I remember going to my first karate class, then Syringe Kempo, then Taekwondo, and then we did Shaolin. So I've always had martial arts, even though I hate it, she would force us to go to that. Rather than Chinese school, martial arts was non-negotiable. You go to it and that's it. And so she just made sure we could always look after ourselves in that sense, and that physically we weren't going to get bullied or we could defend ourselves. And from that, it taught me a lot. Martial arts with discipline and having a lot of strong male role models in that sort of film, because martial artists tend to have a certain discipline. I think answering the question about masculinity, what does it really mean to me and how do I interpret that? It really comes down to 5 things. Masculinity, discipline. Are you disciplined to wake up every day, to get up and do a job and provide for your family? So that's my second one. So that self-discipline is so important. Can you provide for your family? Can you provide financially, physically, be present for your family? And the other one, can you provide security? So it's discipline to provide. Can you offer security, financial, mental, physical? Can you keep your family safe? And the fourth one for me was communication. Are you effective with that communication? Can you listen? Can you listen with the intent to understand, or are you listening with the intent to respond?
Oh, that's a mistake.
Yeah. So are you doing that? And the fifth one, which is not showcased a lot in East Asian culture, is vulnerability. Can you be vulnerable to say, I'm having a bad time, I'm finding it hard, I'm happy? Are you able to communicate that? So those are 5 things for me that define strong masculinity within that sphere. So yeah, that's what I really like to break down. That's what I was trying to find.
Incredible answer.
Refreshing.
Yeah.
And healthy.
It really is.
It's a practice though, because what is practice? Practice is controlled failure. So it's like these 5 things that I've just mentioned are the hardest things and challenged by a person, not just a man or a woman or whoever or whatever sex you identify with. It's a consistent practice, and you're always going to be tested in whatever you do. So you can say all of this, I can say all of this, but for me to actually put that into practice is hard.
And also, if you don't have one of those or 2 of those things on lock, not spiraling, because you could be vulnerable and emotional, but the money is not coming in, or you could have all the other things, but like the vulnerability part, the communication part is what's holding you back.
I have been thinking of those constructs so much recently. And I do believe the foundation is trust, and trust in oneself. When you practice trusting yourself, trusting your intuition, I feel like the rest becomes so easy because you have that conversation with yourself and you're like, it's all good. But maybe, that's just how I've been dealing with things and processing things.
And trust is such a huge thing with communication, because without trust, without credibility, you have no trust. Without trust, you have no credibility. Right, so it's that whole combination there, and the discipline is very hard. Being self-disciplined, I grew up with my dad, who had to do a pretty hard labor endurance job, waking up every day after he's done a long shift to take us to school, to pick us up from school. I never heard him complain that he hated his job ever, even though he probably felt it physically, and that's probably what got him ill quite a lot. But he never once complained about having to wake up to do a tough job for not a lot of money.
Yeah.
And then my mom, she only complains about us, but I've never heard her complaining to do, even until today. She's 72 now. She still goes out and still works because she's she can't not work. Yeah. And her job, she's a beautician, so she's again very physical and takes toll on her body as well. And I never once heard her complain. And to do that every day and to make sure everything's paid, it's a cycle. One of these things goes out of line and then you have imbalance. So that's what male masculinity defines for those 5 key points. And it's discipline, it's communication, vulnerability.
That's a really thoughtful and intentional answer, and a difficult one to reflect on. So thank you for taking the time to do that, because we're so interested in that as British Asians, what that looks like and feels like. Circling back to your dad, who is a chef, and your quote about bleeding laksa and chicken rice, how important is food in connecting you to your heritage?
Food. I'll tell you a story. I was at a gym recently and we're sitting in a sauna, and another actor who's been around for a long time, one of the people that really made it for British or American Asians on screen, Mel Masculinity, Mel Sexiness. He sat there and was like, and said to me, I'll relate this back to food in a second. He basically just went, Jay, you need to start bringing sexiness to the camera. And I went, what? And I was like, and this is a packed order, by the way, right? He's like, y'all ain't bringing the sexiness. You guys need to be bringing that sexiness to the camera. Like, you guys aren't bringing it. And I said to him, I love food too much.
Yeah. I mean, fact.
I was just like, I love noodles and rice. I ain't gonna bring that sexiness. So if any out there, like budding actors, bring that sexiness, but like you got to bring the full package and don't eat rice and noodles as much as I do, because you ain't gonna bring that sexiness apparently. And I'm built like an iPhone, so like I can't. It's not gonna be me in it. It's not gonna be someone else. But food is very important. Food is very important. Like Hainanese chicken rice is my favorite thing. I can eat that for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Laksa and adobo. I grew up with a lot of Filipino friends, and so Korean, loads of West. I think a lot of Filipinos in Western Earls Court area, Wembley, they're all there. So food like Japanese, Korean, Asian food. Food. That's why I never bring that sexiness to camera, because I can't be bothered to diet. There's a lot of dieting you have to do for the stream.
It is,
Like, and especially when you got an Asian mum going and cussing me out, sometimes you're getting quite chunky for camera now. And then cool.
Did your mum say?
In a lovely Asian sort of like mum way, where they're just gonna give you half truths, like not half truths, 4 truths actually. Food is important, and then she's like, stuff is like, oh, it's all right, it's chicken rice. I was like, what don't you understand? I can't do carbs. It's like, it's only a little bit. It's not really carbs. I was like, no, it's carbs. And it's chicken rice. You got my favorite dish in front of my face. And I'm supposed to be like on a calorie deficit right now because I'm about to go on camera. I was just like, anyway. Yeah, so she's, food is a huge part. And then my mom's Singaporean, my dad's Malaysian, Chinese. And so food's just always an important part. Yeah.
So what is your top 3 Asian cuisines?
Ooh. Singaporean food's a big part. So Hainanese chicken rice, Penang laksa. Yeah, you got to do the Malaysian satays as well. I said Malaysian because I know the Indonesians and Singaporeans is like, no, we own satay. And Thai food I love. Thai food. Yeah. I can't do spicy more. I've been reducing spice. So the other day I had like Thai food and I was like sweating and water was going on. I was like, what's wrong with you? I was like, I know I can't handle spice anymore. I've been like, stop. I haven't been eating spice as much. But those are my favorite foods. And I will eat that all day long.
Love it. Same. Rice at every meal.
In it, or noodles.
Wasting rice yesterday, weren't you?
Yeah. So for the people listening or watching,
wasting food.
we were setting up the softbox. And we didn't have sandbags. We like weighted it with a bag of rice and it split open. I didn't realize it had a hole in it.
Which is right there. You guys can't see it, but it's off camera. It's right there.
You mentioned before that you are actively moving into screenwriting and coming into some exciting new projects away from like acting. Yeah, can you share more about what's next for you and also how you want to continue challenging stereotypes? And we saw somewhere that you said you want to play more interracial relationships and just bring some more nuance and representation to the screen.
Yeah, so I'm writing now because I'm not someone that sits there and goes, where are the roles and why is no one writing roles for us? I think for me, it's let's write the roles for ourselves. Let's write those characters because no one else knows these characters better than I do because I grew up in British East Asian. So someone else can't write that experience for me. I've got to start doing that myself. So I'm writing. Got a writer's room now, so we're doing a film or TV show that we're trying to write. And it's called Bet the Fog, and it's a criminal thriller about the police and the underground world of the Asian triads. And so nothing exposing, but it's just looking at that synergy between that and the underworld in the UK. And that's, for me, Scorsese's made the whole career out of it. Andrew Lau's made a huge career out in Hong Kong doing different types of stories like that. And for me, those characters are very nuanced, complex, and I like to see that underworld. But also just writing different stories and going to different directions. looking a lot about our history because I remember seeing an exhibition in the British Museum, and we've been here since the late 1700s.
Wow.
When the first Christian missionary came from China in the 1700s to speak to King James. I might have got that wrong with dates, but
We've been about.
for a long time. The Silk Road was a huge part. So we have been here it's just not been well documented. So we have been here for a long time. And then also in America as well, looking at the gold mines, the cotton fields when slavery was abolished, who looked after the cotton fields and the railroads there. There's loads of stories to explore. Those are some stories that I'm trying to get written and get done and making sure that we can start having those moments to tell.
Yeah, I really feel like Top Boy, they really opened the world up to like London culture. Black British culture, and it would be so nice to have a project that opens up to Asian British culture in the same way as a cultural moment with that level of impact.
Written by an Asian person too.
Yeah. And do you know what the funny thing about Top Boy, why everyone's got love, but no one really knows this, but actually one of the main characters, I won't say which one, was actually meant to be Chinese Vietnamese.
Okay.
Not many people know about that.
One of the leads.
I'm not gonna say yeah, but one of the leads was supposed to be Chinese Vietnamese.
Male or female?
Mel. So back in the day, so that would have changed that whole show's dynamic. I went in to read for it, one of the characters back in the day, but they changed a different direction, which happens, which the creative control, it goes into a different direction, which is why I talk about the politics and how that narrates. But not many people know about that because now you go, oh, if they change the lead, that changes
everything.
Be instrumental.
Yeah, but do you have enough people to be able to help consult and talk about that?
Yeah,
Well,
her. Yeah.
At the time, it was like 2010, 2011, 2012 time. The answer's probably no.
That would have been a game changer.
Because I work so much in like image-based industries, and I think it's so, with my work, I'm like such an auntie. I want everyone to be represented. I want the crew to be Asian if the model is Asian, or just to have that representation off screen as well, because I think it's so important for like the community. Like, why is that so important to me? Like, of the visibility. When I was growing up in the UK, there was just such a lack of representation, like as like a Filipino person or an Asian person, like on pictures or media. And because I am dyslexic, my thinking is so image-based. So I really believe that if there was more representation and visibility like on screen, then I would have had more confidence growing up, because I would have been like, I belong in these rooms, I belong in these spaces, like wherever they may be. If that character was maybe like Chinese Vietnamese and that kind of like went onto the big screen, that would have been instrumental for so many people's confidences, because then that in itself would be like, here's your place.
But then it comes back to the tip of the iceberg, because it's like, who's signing off on having an Asian lead, and who's signing off on having a writer who is Asian and has that experience, and just so many changes need to happen to even get to that.
But I feel the change is happening. Like, us sitting in this room is just a testament to that.
Absolutely. And you have writers like Adele Lim. She did the first TV show I ever did in America called Missing, and she was one of the writers on that. And I was so excited. I was like, oh my God, there's an Asian writer on this show. And then I never saw it. And you got Ali Wong. She was a writer first on Fresh Off the Boat. And you got people like Henry Golding, Andrew Koji, and then you got Manny Jacinto represent the Philly.
Manny Jacinto?
He's doing it. He's killing it. So you're going to get some, young Philly brothers watching him, and he's smashing it. And he's a good friend of mine. So he's about the craft. He's such a great actor.
We're big fans.
Oh, yeah. Manny, you need to come on to this, brother, when you're coming into London.
Manny, we need you.
He's great. Even when I was watching him, he invited me to the Star Wars premiere to watch it, and he was incredible. It was incredible to see him on screen. And I was always in tears when I was watching the guys on Totoro on the stage.
Oh my God, I saw it twice. I cried twice.
It opened up and I saw them on stage, and I was in tears. I was like, the whole cast, and I'll go see them again and see Maymac. Like, as soon as they got, I was like, and my friend, I can't remember who I was with, and they were like, "Are you crying?" I was like, "You have no idea." Seeing seeing all these East Asian talent on set right now, on the stage, and I was balling. I was like, oh my God, you have no idea, the nose and all these things, and they're all there, like they're smashing it. And it was amazing to see. And they killed, and May got nominated for an Olivia Award for Best Actress, the first East Asian.
That's incredible.
And they worked so hard, and they're having a second run now. So big up to the Totoro team.
I had a similar moment when I was watching the last Spider-Man with my dad. And there was this scene where Ned, Spider-Man's best friend, is talking to his Lola in Tagalog for like 5 minutes.
Oh my God, wow.
I mean, my dad would just like crying in the audience because it was completely...
Yeah.
I think especially the Filipino community has been 100% the most underrepresented.
I think so too.
Marginalized.
Yeah.
So much less. But, the stories are coming out, and you have people like Manny represent the flag, and you have other people in that sphere as well. Like Manny for me is the only one right now in that space.
Yeah.
Which is ridiculous because there should be way more. Oh my God, back in the day, I was like, I want to be Rufio. I was like, it was so amazing seeing. I was like, that's why I watched it, because I was like, Rufio was cool.
He was a baddie.
He was like the alpha male in the whole thing. He was just cool.
He had a streak of red hair.
Yeah, he was like Rufio. Like people used to call me. I was like, yeah, Rufio. Like I used to love that. And those are the two big names that you see. Batista is also, I didn't realize, was Philly as well. Yeah. So he's been representing, but I think Manny might be the first. Like looking all stacked with his six-pack.
And the cheekbones.
He did say, he said in an interview, he was like, I'd love to like not take my shirt off for a role soon.
No, Manny, you take that shirt off. I'm joking. I know his wife as well.
Last time he ate right.
You take that shirt off, brother. We love that because I don't want to do it. I'm too lazy. You take that shirt off, Manny.
And that leads us quite beautifully to the last question. So if you were to write a love letter to diaspora, what would it say?
I would say, be fearless, be brave, and do you.
I mean, XOXO.
Fabulous. Thank you so much, Jason. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on Eastern Honeys. Let the people know how to find you, how we can support, what projects to stream, etc. into that camera.
All right, you can follow me on my social on Instagram, officially_Wong. I've got a film coming out this year with Guy Ritchie, Jake Gyllenhaal, Henry Cavill, Rosamund Pike, called In the Grey. And next year, I believe the release date is January 9th. That's with Jason Statham. And that is called Mutiny. And so those are the two projects that we have coming out as well. And I've got a short film called Sweet, Bitter, Bittersweet Love. I think that's the title. I'm so dyslexic, I don't know if that's right. But it's with Nicola Lee, a young, amazing, talented director. Reminds me of a young Wong Kar-wai, incredible. And styled by our sister Iz over there. So yeah, thank you very much. And thank you very much for having me on. This is incredible for you to give a voice and a platform to young East Asian artists. Like I've been trying so hard throughout the whole today not to cry, to see how incredible.
We've been crying to cry through you. So yes, thank you for your vulnerability.
And transparency and trust and communication trust.
Thank you.
So to close, thank you so much for watching, listening, sharing Eastern Honey Season 2. What the hell? We love to see it. Watch, stream, subscribe, and share those good vibes in the links in here. If you're on YouTube, we're going to do this. And see you on the next one. Maraming salamat. Peace.